here to tell us.
So
From the ripped asshole.
no good can come from it.
No one likes us.
Here I am today. I got a dual interview, first dual interview with two of my closest people, Adam Bird and my man Luxx. Other people call him other stuff, but that's my man Luxx over there. I brought these two gentlemen in because, as I've said, I'm doing kind of a continuing series dealing with the skinhead culture, which is very different from, if anybody's hip to the English skinhead culture, what went on over there in the 70s and what's going on over here now and even in the 80s and 90s is very fucking different.
Yeah.
And the things that come along with the culture, that come along with the just everything that comes with it is heavy biz, and I think a light needs to be shined on it. And there's certain things that I know some people think about this because most people think skinheads are Nazis. They're wrong, but they think that.
Right.
Some people are getting hit, but then they're like, well, y'all are fucking violent criminals. Y'all do wild shit. You're gangsters. You do all this other shit. What happens when you wind up in prison? Well, that's why I have two of the funniest motherfuckers I've ever met in my life to tell you all about that shit. First, let's I have my notes are all over the place, so this is just going to be a fucking free for all. We'll have at it.
That's the best way.
Let's start with I'll start with Adam. First of all, I want to tell you congratulations, Adam. This is no secret to anybody, and I know he's not going to be upset with me mentioning it. Was a longtime addict who turned his life around in a way I've never seen another addict do, and on top of that, does amazing shit for other people constantly, and you're now what is it exactly you just got the job for? You're a counselor of some kind?
I'm not a excuse me.
That's
I'm not a counselor yet. I'm starting as a clinical tech, but I'm also going to school. I will be a counselor.
Okay.
And I'm going to start working for a buddy in the treatment industry, and I just kind of feel like I've been pushed that way, and it makes sense. It makes sense out of my fucking. I mean, you knew me when I was loaded,
Yep.
Like it makes sense out of that crazy shit. I think I'll enjoy. I like helping people because I needed help.
Sure.
We all need a fucking hand sometimes.
Shit, I was one of them too, man.
Yeah, all of us.
Absolutely. So, starting with that, what was the defining moment? Because you were mostly like a straight 'em up, funny haircut punk rocker for the longest time in the world.
Yeah.
What was there a particular moment, a record, a song, something that got you going down that path where that was what you decided was what you were going to do?
Oh yeah, for sure. It went. For me, it went from. I went backwards. It went from like skateboarding to. I actually shaved my head the first time I was like 14 in boots and braces.
Okay.
And then I went punk. I went backwards. Everyone does the skinhead retirement plan, and I kind of went backwards. But I gotta say, anything from the Clash, anything from Cockspar, GBH Can Do No Wrong. Those early bands, I got into punk, and then I got into Oi and like Two Tone it right after that.
Right.
So I think my first introduction probably would have been like old, like 80s American punk and like early hardcore, and then
like mostly LA stuff. Probably you first.
Yeah.
Black Flag,
Southern Cal, Black Flag, the Vandals, all of that. I'm old. I'm 42. All that type of shit. But then, right at the same time, I got into like the Exploited, GBH, Infra Riot, and that stuff always like that hit just as hard, if not harder, for me. You know, I love it all. I
Right,
love
right. And
good
now
music.
you're originally from Bakersfield, Lux.
Hmm.
Where are you originally from?
So it's kind of complicated. I was born in San Bernardino, up
Okay.
in the IE, right? And then I moved to Mexico when I was a real little kid, and then moved back to San Diego when I was 14.
All
So I
right.
was like bounce, bounce, bounce. So like most of my upbringing was Mexico.
Got it. Got it. So, I gotta ask you the same question. Was there a defining moment where you went, "This is what I'm gonna do. The skinhead gimmick is for me. The punk rock thing is for
For
me."
sure.
A record, a song, something that turned you down that road.
Absolutely. I was a skater first when I was 12 I started skating real tough, and I went to Colton Skate Ranch and I saw Dwayne Peters skating a pool, and I was
Yeah.
like, what the
Fuck
fuck
yeah.
is this dude about? You know what I mean? And so I
Yeah.
asked him, and he kept telling me, he kept pushing Devo. He was like, check Devo out. You need
Yeah.
to check Devo
Fuck
out.
yeah.
And so I did. I went and checked Devo out, and my mind was blown, and my life changed that moment. And I was a punk rocker from then. And then when I was 14, I was at the record store and I bought this little album called Oi Oi Music
Yeah.
by The
I'm hip.
Oppressed.
Yeah.
And fucking that album, I can just remember in my headspace. I was like, fuck yes, I want to be Joe Hawkins. Basically, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Little 14-year-old me was like, saw a lot of power in that for some reason. And I'd noticed already from the punk rock scene that like the skinheads just weren't getting fucked with. Like they were doing the fucking instead of getting the fucking. And I liked that. I didn't want to be a fucking, I would rather be with the wolves than the sheep. And
Right.
that's what it looked like in the scene to me. Like the skinheads were the wolves and the punks were the sheep. And that's probably kind of a broad way to paint a scene, you know what I mean? Because I get that it's complicated, but as a kid, that's how it looked to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I did the same thing, literally, but I was about 12 when I started. I was running around with punk rockers, and I cut my fucking hair. I'm like, this is the fucking way to go. I had already shaved my head because there ain't no way my fucking psychotic redneck pops or my mother, who just found Jesus, was letting me have a mohawk. And then so I shaved my head and wore punk rock shit, and then went, actually, if this is the deal. Once the skinhead shit and the oppressed was a big one for me. Joe Hawkins was a big one. That shit I just fucking went with it, and I had never stopped.
Damn, and so
Yeah.
like I remember people telling me back then, especially like my grandfather would be like, "What's this skinhead shit?" Right? And I'd be
Yeah.
like, and it was very different. What it meant to me back then and what it is to me now are also very different things, mind you, right? But
Sure.
I remember explaining it to him, and him just going, "Well, it just sounds like that's you're trying to be a decent human being. Like that's how I roll." Because he was my grandfather was working class as fuck. He was, you know, he was a plumber for
Yeah.
60 years, and he was just like really hands on. He'd punch you in the mouth if you had guff, as he put it, to give him. And he just thought it was a good person thing, and he didn't need to put labels or whatever on it. But I never. He's like, you'll grow out of it someday. And like he's been dead since 2007, but I'm here to tell him not true. It's just not true.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of us don't grow up, and I kept thinking about this whole time. I'm thinking of this interview. All I can think of is my favorite meme that I've ever seen in my whole life. That one that said, "I was punk rock when it was called Hey Faggot."
Yeah. 100% with
That's
the guys from suburbia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody that doesn't get that joke, like, I'm not mad at like the younger kids. You got to start somewhere. But anybody
No,
that
it's a
doesn't get
youth
that joke,
movement.
too young for me to be dating. That's all I'm saying.
But right.
And here's the
So
thing, like the fucking scene we came up in, at least the scene I came up in the 80s, it was toxic as fuck. Like
yeah,
when I think of the people I knew back then, very, very few of them are alive. Like hardly any of them are alive.
yeah,
Almost
Yep.
all of us succumb to addiction.
100%.
They're either doing life in prison or they OD. And like the list of homies I got that can go on that one is it was a brutal fucking scene. And there was like the Unity Fest that we were all at. There's no way that could have happened back then. No fucking way. Skinhead culture was just so hyper violent that bringing a crowd of them together like that would be like just causing destruction, no matter what.
yeah. I can remember shows when they would get. I mean, even in the early and mid '90s, shows were still like the cops like to fuck with them. They like to
Totally.
shut him down if they possibly could.
Oh yeah.
It was a little
90s
better
was
than it
fucking
was in
violent,
the 80s at that point, but yo, man, it was still fucking, it was rough. And you
I
could get fucking stuck just about anywhere. And it was the
Yeah.
punk rock kids like to stab people.
yeah.
For sure.
It
In the
was
90s, there was a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
yeah. That was there in Bakersfield. Like Bakersfield to this day, there's still folks rolling around in like 90s skate shoes. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So Bakersfield, a town like that is. I started going to shows in like '92, but it was pre-internet. All the homies that were just a couple years older than me that were bringing me up, they came out of Luxx scene, out of the '80s, and it was like my friend's brother got fucking his brains blown out in front of a Jack in the Box for having a green mohawk
Yeah.
by some troll. Like real story. Jeremy Luther was his name, and he got fucking killed for that shit. But Bakersfield is like, it's a different animal. It's
Don't go to Oildale.
it's not back then. It's not cool to be into that shit anywhere, but to this day in Bakersfield they get fucked with. Maybe not to the extent we did then, but it's still not. It's a very conservative fucking city, and that's why I love my homies there. Is because they fight that shit still like every day.
Yeah. Big up
Like
to
they
the
don't hide
19.
what they're about.
Big up to the 19. Love
Yeah.
them motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I
All love to you guys too. You know that.
absolutely. Yeah, Bakersfield is a weird city because it's not. It's a lot like Santa Maria in that it's not
Yeah.
a big city, but it's nowhere near a small town. So
No.
it has this weird, deeply entrenched redneck element, and it's got big city problems.
Yeah. Then you got all the gangs and shit too.
Fuck yeah.
You got plenty of that.
Fucking
But
A.
yeah, it's a different place.
Um,
But yeah, it was like Luxx was saying, it was fucking. I would get in fights because people thought I was a Nazi. Just
Same.
as much as you get in fights with Nazis.
That's
It
the problem
was.
with being an old convict.
There was no internet.
Everybody's
You
gonna have
couldn't
you as a
Google
Nazi.
this shit.
$1,000,000%. $1,000,000%. Both of y'all. That is
Yeah,
the problem.
you couldn't
Like,
Google it. It
Everybody thinks
wasn't.
I'm a Nazi for sure. Everyone.
I get it. Yeah, I still get it once in a while, but
Yeah.
I also don't wear boots and braces every day anymore. It's too fucking hot in California
Yeah,
at
right.
all times to be wearing that shit. This ain't
Yeah,
England in the 60s, man. It's fucking hot out here. I'm wearing fucking cut off camos and slip on shoes
That's
and
the best.
cut off
Hey,
shirt.
that's what real ones wear, Ryan.
Yeah.
That's the best attire.
It's fucking, yeah, man.
I got my cholo shorts on right now.
Look, man, that's the
Same.
way to go. That's the way to go. So, let's go down this path of darkness that we need to a little bit. Let's start with Luxx on this. Luxx, when did you first get locked up? I mean, I think everybody at the table here has done little stuff here and there.
So like my lockup story like started literally 2 nights after my 18th birthday. I was at this party and my girlfriend beat this girl up and broke her hand. And so I took her to the hospital, and after she got treated, we were leaving, and the dude whose party it was came up and pointed a gun at my chick. And so I jumped in front of him. I was like, don't fucking point a gun at my chick. He's like, I'll shoot you too. And I started walking towards him. I said, shoot me. He did. And I took the pistol from him and caved his head in with it. And they fucking went straight to jail. Like that was like, I was 18 3 days and found myself in of all places, San Bernardino County Jail.
Yeesh.
Which is woohoo.
I've heard some stories. Stories about San Bernardino County, man.
Even after going to the joint and like doing all that, looking back on that shit was fucking gnarly, right?
Right.
And like, so like just in the skinhead scene, I continued to get in little bits of trouble. So like I'd go to jail here and there for stupid shit, but it was never anything serious until addiction. And then once addiction came in, being a skinhead and being like kind of already in a space for hyper violence and that type of stuff, my shit got crazy real quick, like extra crazy. And I found myself going to state prison in 1994 for 4 years, 4 months. And it was fucking, I never thought I'd go, obviously, like nobody ever thinks they're going to end up there. And I was coming from that, like just suburban entitlement kind of like, oh, it'll never happen to me. Like we don't go to prison. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm white.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically, yeah. That's a great example of white privilege, but yes.
Yeah,
yes,
that's that was the joke. Thank you.
just like that. So when I was in county, I knew there was Nazi skinheads, but they didn't, like, skinheads were just already such dicks. You weren't tripping on Nazis like back in the 80s. So now it's the 90s and the Nazi things, wars happening and all that shit's getting really crazy. And I roll into this high power tank and this gigantic motherfucker named Boots, who had Adolf Hitler tattooed on his neck right here, like a full on portrait, comes up and he's like, "Hey, comrade, blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "Look, bro, you got me fucked up. Like, that's not my get down. I come from, like, I don't know what you're on, but what I'm on is not that. It's some different shit." And he's like, "All right, well, no worries. Fucking have a good night." And promptly upon falling asleep, I woke up with 5 members of Peni bouncing on me. And they legit tried to kill me. Like, yeah, they tried to kill me. They stomped me and stomped me. And then, like, it ended up, this dude came and broke it up and saved me, basically. And it was a real fucking eye opener. You're like, you find yourself there, and then what happens? Well, I found myself there, and then that happened. And again, being somebody, I'm such an obstinate cunt, right? Like, instead of like making me like turn my fucking views a different way, it just made me go, oh yeah, fuck those guys. It's on.
Which is the most, that's the most fucking irritated skinhead thing you could possibly do.
For sure. For sure. So like, I'm pretty crafty and I'm pretty smart. And so I set about just making it right. And I also decided right then that that shit wasn't going to go down a lot again. Like I wasn't having it. And so I started politicking and just putting the word out that like, fuck that. I'm not on that shit, but like, I'm a solid motherfucker. I don't tell. I handle my business. Like, what the fuck? I want get backs. And ended up getting to Donovan and getting get backs with one of them. I never got that Boots guy, but one of them I did get backs and felt pretty good about that. And so long story short, by the time I got where I was going, all that shit had already trickled up north. And a dude that I knew from the punk rock scene back in the day was already a big homie and kind of like red lighted me to where like I didn't have any more problems like that term at all, like none. And it was an interesting perspective because I ended up at Jamestown on a 3-yard, which it was a really small yard back then. And there was like, I want to say 30% boneheads on that yard. Like there was a fucking grip of them.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and there was a lot of them. There was like 40 of them, 35, 40 of them. And they couldn't do shit. So it was kind of a fun scenario to find myself in because they'd be like, I just talk shit nonstop. Like, oh, let me see. Are those your flicks? Is that you on the streets? That's how you dress? What the fuck? Like, why would you even claim? You know what I mean? And
where is Jamestown, real quick? I'm actually not hip.
It's up in the Sierras. It's like by Fresno, basically.
Yeah.
If you go up in the mountains from Fresno, you're there. Or Modesto, actually. It's right above Modesto.
All right.
And it's like, yeah, there's no reason to go there. There's literally only one reason you would ever go there.
Fuck Modesto. Adam, he's basically started out your story about the same way. You and I have known each other since we were kids. I've known you for a long, long time. So you, I know we've already established you had an addiction problem as well. Is that's what you got you clinked up at first as well and had you going down that road?
Actually, Luxx almost just told my story verbatim. It was basically, fights, drunk and disorderly shit like that is a juvenile offender type shit. And then by the time I developed my little or rather large heroin habit.
Penis?
It
Oh,
was shit. Like they used to go hard on that shit. Like it's not that way now.
Fuck yeah, they did.
But
Oh, they
Kern
were-
County, my first prison term was for $10 worth of heroin. Nowadays they write you a ticket for that.
Yeah, you're
I'm a
going
little
home.
resentful over that.
is
You're
that
going home
right?
with a half ounce of
That
heroin
was my
now.
first term was possession of it. It was a fucking dime bag I was saving for a wake up.
That makes sense.
That
So
was a
I know you're
2-year
a little-
prison sentence for that shit back then.
That's fucked. And I know
Yeah.
you've got to be salty about that. That's fucked. But
Yeah.
you have got to be happy that they've fucking taken it down a notch. So it's not.
I believe in it. Even though I'm in recovery and I'm going to work in recovery, like but that's a whole other topic. But I believe in the legalization of all drugs because
I do
it's
too.
fucking harm reduction. It's a no brainer to me.
I want to say out loud because I 100% agree with you. I apologize if I cut you off. I'm sorry, but
No, you
I
didn't.
100% agree with that statement. But I want to differentiate because my team, I'm not 100% sure my wife is into that, and I'm not 100%
Right.
sure that my partner is. So that is me. I agree with it, not necessarily the rest of the No Loot crew. But 100%,
Right.
I think all drugs should be decriminalized or legalized.
Yeah, for sure.
The only
It
person
doesn't.
that has anything to gain from drugs being illegal is the government. That's it. Like they make money off it.
100%.
It doesn't do it good for anybody else. It doesn't stop anybody. It does. All it does is create revenue for the government. So
Who do you think brings the drugs in?
you know what I'm saying?
You're not.
The game's rigged from the start, bro.
Yeah, man. It ain't fooling nobody. So you did. Where did you do your first term at? In Folsom, was it?
Oh no! My first term was Pooh Butt. I was real lucky. County jail was a little rough for me, but I went back then. They had because it was such a minor offense. Back then they had it was called CCF, and it was like a private. It was state inmates, but it was a tiny like private. It was where you wanted to go. You were lucky if you went to one. It was like the politics were there, but they were pretty compared to other places I went later on. It was like it wasn't too bad.
Like on some like people were like, yo, I'm gonna get out of here anyway, just settle down, everybody.
It was all you couldn't even go there. I think if you had more than 3 years, you weren't eligible. It wasn't like they didn't even have like real COs. They were like city of Taft fucking cops, like private cops or whatever. And actually it wasn't too bad there. It like you had fucking microwaves in the dorms. Yeah, Cadillac racks, which means no bunkie, right?
Yeah, that's honor form shit. That's all right.
Yeah, you're styling. They would even like everybody liked wrestling, so they would order wrestling for us on pay-per-view, and there was like, I swear, you can't make this shit up. It was like if you're gonna be locked up, it was it wasn't a bad place to be. It was, but later on, I went to like High Desert, Susanville, Wasco, and those places are definitely different than than that CCF was.
Yeah, I've known plenty of people that wound up in Wasco. Would you say that's one of the worst places you went?
Wasco's fucked up, but I think the worst place I went to was High Desert, and I wasn't there for long. That was also back when they used to give you long, healthy parole violations. So I wasn't there on a prison term. I don't even remember. I think I was absconding, which means running from my parole officer.
Yeah.
And they sent me back, and it was 8 months or whatever. You know, I wasn't there for a real long time, but that was a different. I was on the 3 yard there for about a month, and that was just, I didn't have any incidents there, but it was a real like Luxx was saying, there were fucking shit ton of boneheads on that yard.
Right.
Aside from that, it was just nobody's laughing. You know, I come from I'm never pretend to be anything I'm not. I come from a fucking minimum security drug offender. You know what I mean? Like I'm not the big high power guy, but I've been around and I've been locked up most of the early millennium was inside somewhere. But high desert, the fucking whole, just the way, you know, like you had to have somebody go to the restroom with you, all that, you know, you couldn't go alone because somebody could come up and fucking stab you. And
mean
I wasn't used to that. It was just way more serious type atmosphere.
Right.
And but
all right, go ahead.
I wasn't there too long. It wasn't too bad. You know, I wasn't there for years and years, but it was definitely a different, real serious trip.
Level 4 ain't no joke.
No. Come here, baby. Come say hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
He brought me
How you
something
doing,
to drink.
sweetness?
It's super hot. That's Adam.
Hello.
That's Luxx.
We've met.
Hi.
Yeah, you remember Adam?
No, I don't.
It's been like 2 years.
2 years.
You tell me. Yeah.
2 years.
How are you?
2 years.
You on the podcast?
Yeah, she's always trying to be on
Dad
the podcast.
making you
She's
famous?
in the intro of the podcast.
What's going on with your teeth?
What's going on with your teeth?
Mine?
Hers.
No.
That was all. I lost them all smoking crack.
You got 2 out?
Hell yeah.
What's gonna and you got another one loose, huh?
No, I couldn't feel it anymore.
Oh, it stopped wiggling?
Yeah, it stopped wiggling.
Weird.
Get the fuck out of here.
I
All right.
couldn't find the wiggle.
All right, that's all right. Hey, baby, I'm going to talk to my pals for a little bit, okay? Thank you for bringing me a drink. It's so hot.
Mom,
You go play video games. I love you.
Mom got it.
Okay. Thank you for bringing it to me, monkey. I love you. All right.
I love that so much.
She's
too.
the best. She's
You're
the best.
awesome. You too.
Thank you, brother, man. So Luxx, where have you done time? Where was?
Well, so like
You told me a couple, but you know what I mean.
So, I'm like Adam. I'm also not a high power guy. You know what I'm saying? Like the only thing I know about street stuff is from like gang culture in LA, from like punk rock gang culture. But like I didn't know anything about like say the Aryan Brotherhood or the Mexican Mafia or any of that shit, right? And so going through state, I was level 3 because of the severity of my crimes. I ended up level 3, but that's okay. It's like it's political, but it's not over the top political, and it's not mandatory stabbing like high desert. Once you get to level 4, there's no more fights. Like there is no fighting. You don't fight. Like if you got an issue, you go fucking handle it, right? And so in 2007, I found myself at the Mexican border in San Ysidro being arrested for 2 kilos of 1 kilo of cocaine and 1 kilo of heroin. And I didn't feel like going to jail that night.
Oh yeah, pudding.
And so I faked a seizure and I went to the hospital and I escaped from the hospital. And because of that, when I caught my time, they sent me to this place called Victorville. And it's a level, what they call in the feds, level 5 gang yard. And so it's like all the Aryan Brotherhood, all the Mexican Mafia, all the gangster disciples, all the Latin kings, like the list just goes on and on and on. Or all the lifers from those cliques are on these yards. And like when I got there, I told the judge that I wanted to go to Terminal Island because it's a low and it's in Long Beach right there. And I thought it'd be the best place to do time. So I end up in Victorville and I'm like, why am I here? And the guy goes, you escaped from a federal institution, bro. You'll be behind the wall no matter where you go forever. Like this is where you're going to be. Why? You've never been on a gang yard? And I said, well, yeah, like I've been to state. But no, what he meant was, have you ever been on a righteous like gang yard? And the answer is no, because about 20 minutes after that, my mind got fucking literally blown. I like, it's never been so blown, and it'll never be so blown again. I walk into this building, and a dude with the Aryan Brotherhood Clover on his chest comes up to me and goes, "What's your name?" And I tell him, and he's like, "All right, paperwork at the table right now." And like, I'm like, well, this is different. And first thing they do is sit you down and like go over all your shit with you, ask you questions, like make sure that it's like legitimately your paperwork. And it just degrades from there. So political, so regimented.
Right.
It was just total control. Like you're literally under total control of a gang that you honestly can't stand. So it's like,
Bad place
It's
to be, man.
it's fucked up when you come from a background like ours, where the fact is the California prison system and the feds too, a gang yard, like he said, like it's very, very racist. Like that's just the way it is in there.
it's systematic
And
too. Like the actual
I
system.
never I obviously Lux neither. I never felt like I feel racism is something you either have it in you or you don't. And I don't have it in me. I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood. All my friends are Mexican growing up. Like, you have it in you or you don't. And I never had it in me.
Right.
But unless you're going to, go live with child molesters, you're gonna mind somebody.
The
And
slippery
so the
slope.
way I did my time was but there were not every single motherfucker in there. Or maybe I just got lucky, but I would always run into a few people like the homie Squints from a hardcore crew called SYG. Like I would run into
Yeah,
people
I know
that
SYG. Yeah.
we were in Susanville together. In fact, it kind of got out. Susanville was like when I was there. It wasn't too, like a few of the like woods from fucking Kern County. They knew because they knew 19th Street. They knew we fight on it, but like there's only so many people from Kern County there, and they even made, because me and Squints were in the same dorm, right? And they'd be like, "Oh, there they go. There's the sharp dorm. There's the like." But they didn't ever give us any shit, like and we didn't deny it either. We weren't like banging that shit,
Yeah.
but we weren't denying it either. And but yeah, you get in there and it's just fucking. I've been in fights for county was rough. I've been in fights for having 1-9 tattooed on my fingers. One time I got in a fight with like 3 boneheads from Taft.
Sure.
But I was bringing heroin into the jail. So the guy who had the yard, some Perkerwood fool, like I'm giving him a little piece of heroin every single Saturday. You know what I mean? And so those guys it fucking gangbanged on me, they got handled for that shit. They got handled, and that's and he's like, and this is a dude that had the whole fucking yard, and he's straight Peckerwood, but he's like, I don't give a fuck if you are a shark. You're bringing in heroin. Your fucking paperwork's good. Your paperwork's good. I don't care. That's what he told me. He's
Totally.
like, and he had those guys checked. So
Motherfucker, money's green all day, especially when
drugs
and
go
it
a long
counts
way
for 4
for
times
sure.
the amount.
Yeah.
So I put this out to a couple of people. I wasn't telling many people that I was doing this interview. There is a group that I belong to on Facebook that it's weird to explain, but this is a group of people I trust. I said I'm interviewing a couple of people that I care about a great deal. Skinhead, punk rockers, motherfuckers that have been to the joint. What kind of questions do you have for them? Right. Everybody, without question, had the utmost respect. Several people wanted to wish you guys well, so I'm going to pass that on to you.
Nice.
but some questions were kind of standard and kind of funny. For instance, let's dispel the darkness a little bit. This is a personal question of mine. I'm going to start off with: Is
I
there
know what it's going to be.
is there a commissary item that you can't get on the outside that you miss?
Yes. I can get it, though.
Oh,
TJ
what is
Mama.
it?
TJ Mama.
I'm not hip.
It's a pickled sausage, and you chop it up, and you
Oh
put it
yeah.
in your spreads, right? And
Yeah,
so,
I'm
like,
hip.
I still smash spreads to this day. Like, to this, I had one yesterday, homie, with peanut butter and everything, right? Like, that's just, I can't stop. But I do miss the tangy tang of a TJ Mama off in that motherfucker. But I'm never get them at the. I see them at the liquor store sometimes. I just never get them. But if I was at commissary, I'd get one for sure.
Adam, you got one?
Oh, I've got a few, but I'm going to give you the best one, which
All right.
isn't technically a commissary item, but they used to in Wasco, I believe it was Tuesday and Saturday night with your dinner, they would give you a fucking home run pie. And I don't, and obviously you see those fucking things there, but I never see the home run ones anymore. And I'd go into Wasco with a clavo of tobacco in my ass, and I would trade fucking the tiniest little cigarettes for home run pies.
Nice.
So I miss the home run pies, and I'm like Luxx, I still eat fucking spread. From time to time. It's not my nightly anymore, but
Right.
from time to time you just got to hook it up and
everybody that I know that's been to the joint for a significant amount of time still eats a spread once in a
yeah.
while.
The only thing is I can't find the Cactus Annie's. Cactus Annie chips. I never see them.
God, those are so fucking good.
That's the one I was waiting for.
Cactus Annie's are tight.
I will not say his.
Good, bro.
I'm not going to say his last name because he's trying to do different things with his life. But fucking Adam knows this gentleman. Matt is still doing that. he cried about the fucking Cactus Annie's fucking for a hot minute at work.
Yeah. God bless that guy.
Now
he and I actually it was funny. We got released from San Luis Obispo County Jail. Neither of us knew we were in there together. We were in different pods or whatever. But we're going through release one morning, and I look over, and there he is. It's like, all right, you can ride into town with me.
That's all right. That's fucking all right.
Yeah.
One of the questions I got from other people, it's my boy Chuck. He's a sharp from Arizona. I think he's originally from Boston, but he lives out in Arizona. He's a good dude. He kind of wanted to know, and you guys kind of covered this already, but I thought maybe you had more to add. He kind of wanted to say, how did you navigate the division based on skin color? Because, like I said, you already kind of answered that, and if you answered it enough, cool, we're done. But is there something more to that? Being anti-racist, being sharp, being a fucking traditional skinhead punk rocker that's not having that bullshit? Or you just fucking be like, they're doing their gimmick, and I'll do what I got to do, and whatever.
Well, here's my take on it. So, like, you know how Adam was saying that, like, you either have racism in you or you don't have racism in you, right? Yeah. And luckily, I also like Adam, especially my second term. My second term in state, I fucking landed on this yard with like several punk rockers that I knew from the 80s. Like, we had like a crew. And so it was fucking, we could actually be a little brazen and like, not gangbang, but talk shit. You know what I mean? Be like, oh, that's fucking bullshit. Or like, bend the rules a little. And when I was, yeah, totally. And when I did that term, there was a black dude there that was he had been a hitman for the Crips in the 80s, and he was a lifer, and he's still to this day probably the smartest person I've ever met in person, and I loved him. And so, of course, I had to start a whole dramatic thing and be like, look, I like this dude, and I want to talk to him. What's up? How do we go about doing that without bumming all you fucking sissies out, right? And they came up with a thing where I could go to the black side of the day room to the first table and sit on the first chair right there, and he could sit across from me, and we could talk to each other as long as we didn't smoke together, drink together, eat together. As long as it was just verbal, we were good. And so, for like over a year, for like 13, 14 months, I would go sometimes every night and go sit and talk to this dude for hours because, like, I did a lot of reading when I was locked up. I read voraciously, as did he. And so we'd read and then we'd talk about what we were reading. And like, I miss it. Like, I literally still miss that dude. It was like, it was really good.
That's
And the punk rockers on that yard were fucking phenomenal. Like, I had a fucking big old boom box, Dirty Cops, bro. I had this cop named Miss Serta, and she gave me and my celly a giant Sony boom box. And so, like, we could play our cassettes loud anywhere. And we had fucking Subhuman, Stiff Little Fingers, Cockspar. Like, we had a bunch of fucking cassettes, and like, we would just bum the heavy metal crew on a daily basis. We'd be out there fucking doing bar work, fucking just blasting shit. And it was great. It was great.
I love it. Adam,
it was making the best out of a shitty situation.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like it. Adam, have you got stories along them lines?
So as I was just mentioning, Susanville. So Susanville is what's called. We were on the main line there, Squints and I, but it's a pipeline for a lot of guys to go out to fire camp. I didn't go. Squints went later on, I think, but. So the reason I mention this is our dorm. I still remember it was dorm 33. We called it the 33rd. And all these people, there were maybe 6 white guys at any time in this dorm. And then it was predominantly Southsiders, Paisas, and blacks and the brothers. Well, people were always going out to fire camp, right? So it got to be but Squints and I weren't. So we're in there, and it got to be where we've been there the longest out of any of the white guys. Well, me and one bunk over, there was this, I made the fucking coolest friend, this guy, Bam. He was from Watts Crip. This was a real deal fucking gang man. Like, I don't even know why he was at Susanville. He should have been, but he was doing, I think, 8 years that time, but he had done 14 years before straight. Like, he was a real one. And Bam and I, we would just talk at night, politics in there got lax because we've been there the longest. And most of the people that were coming in there, they weren't the politicking guys. They were following the stupid little fucking rules, but they weren't into it. You know what I'm saying? Cool. So it got to where it was fucking, I broke every fucking prison rule that they put on white guys. And Bam and I would fucking make spreads together. We would fucking smoke joints together.
It's my favorite thing.
Smoke cigarettes together. We would do fucking drugs together. He'd give me heroin every fucking Saturday. I'd get fucking high as fuck with him. We became tight, and every time a new guy would come in, a new white guy, I would have to pull him aside, and I would say, hey, you're going to see some shit in here that you might not see at other prisons or in other dorms even, but you're going to see some shit in here, and because this is how we're running it. And if you don't like it, all I'm asking is, instead of taking it to the yard and throwing me under the bus, let's go in the restroom and we can get them up.
There you go.
And every single person I said that to was like, they were cool with it. They just wanted to go to fire camp. Nobody tripped.
You never threw joints? You never had to go to the bathroom and throw joints with any of them people?
Not over that.
Fuck.
Which is fucking insane. And trip on this. Then fucking one day I thought my streak ran out, and I'm like, all right, this is going to be the guy. This new guy comes in, straight straight. I'm getting loud. Straight. He's got lightning bolts on his eyelids, like i.e. like he wasn't a bonehead, but just peckerwood as fuck. And he's got the lightning bolt tattoos, and I'm like, yeah, this gonna be the dude. And he gets in there, and I give him the same talk I get. I don't care. Like either way, it's gonna be 1-on-1. So, and I could probably fuck this guy up. He's a short little dude, and not very big. And so, but he's covered. He's got all the fucking every fucking racist prison white guy tattoo you could think of. He's got it. And I'm like, hey man. So I check his paperwork. I do all the standard shit, and then we go in the restroom, and I say, hey, me and the brothers in here, we're tight. We're programming. We're keeping it off the yard. I go, but we like to fucking get stoned and smoke cigarettes and get high and eat together. And that's just what's going down in here. And if you have an issue, let's just handle it now instead of making it a yard issue. And this fool looks up at me and he goes, let's get weird. And
That's my favorite answer
this fool
ever.
has been going to prison his whole life and doesn't know how to think for himself,
Right.
But, so I did have to fight in there, but not. In fact, the last time I got my ass whooped was in that same dorm. I got beat. It was a heads up fade, and I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I was getting old, and I fucking bit off more than I could chew with my bunkie, who was like this 25-year-old. Like, I'm pretty sure he was inbred. He had like his eyes were spaced real far apart.
He had that Hills Have Eyes strength, huh?
Total. He was from Stockton, Okieville.
Oh, Jesus
and
Christ.
like real deal, not even just a retard, but he was fucking huge. And yeah, I called him to the day room because he wouldn't take a fucking shower. He refused, and he was getting stinky, and I was in a bad mood, so I called him to the fucking day room. I was like, get in the shower or put on your boots and get in the day room. Well, I'm fucking waiting for him around the corner, and I'm starting to think what I had just done. I'm like, fuck, this fight. I'm thinking, please just fucking get in the shower. I'm like, this is a big motherfucker. And he chose to not get in the shower. So when he came around the corner, I hit him as fuck. And I was pretty good size then, too, because I was working out every day. And
yeah,
I hit that motherfucker as hard as I could. And he just fucking, I swear to God, like out of a movie, he just smiled at me. And one of his fucking hammerhead eyes started getting jittery. And that man, I fought back, though. I fought back, and I fought with heart. But that motherfucker, I thought he broke my fucking jaw. He hit hard, man. He hit hard. That was the last real ass whooping I've ever had. And that was like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, Jesus.
But yeah, he fucked me up.
I didn't even realize you were locked up that recently. It feels like forever you've been out.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking it was 8 years ago. Maybe I did my last. I got clean in 2013.
Yeah,
and that was right after I had gotten out. So, however,
that's
that
right.
fight was probably in 2012. So yeah, 8 years. 8 years.
Fucking 8, which is great, man. Congratulations, great job, man.
Thank you, Ryan.
So what was the other thing? I was going to ask you, this one was a little more serious. Somebody else posed this. Does it irritate the two of you when people glorify prison?
Complicated. It just depends.
Totally.
It depends on if people are being braggarts and like acting all yard hard like that.
Yeah.
Nothing irritates me more than that bullshit. However, like you've met my wife. My wife also did a grip of time in the feds. So like she has a history as a convict. Like she knows what it's like to live as a convict. And like we tell war stories all the time. Like I can't act like we don't fucking glorify it sometimes because we do. We'll attach yard politics to like our street situation. We'll be like, man, if we were on the yard, I'll fuck that motherfucker up, bro. You know what I mean? Just stupid shit like that. But like, so in a plain, playful way, if you're not taking it too seriously, I think it can be therapeutic, right? But if you're coming at people, oh, whoa, I've been to the penitentiary and this is how it is, you can suck my balls and work your way around.
I had a troll come at me online, and I don't remember the last time I've gotten involved in beef online because it's the dumbest shit in the world. Like where I argued with somebody, but this motherfucker said so, and I wasn't even involved in this. I just saw that he said this, and eventually I told him to go fuck his mother later on a thing. But he was on some shit where he was arguing jail shit with some people, and said people that I know and care about, and he said I did 8 years in jail, and this motherfucker's like, I'm a CEO right now, and what you're talking about is made the fuck up. And I went and looked at this guy's profile. His profile picture is one of those moving ones, which already makes me upset as a cranky old man. And it's Tekashi 6ix9ine. It's a fucking rat. So I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I'm like, this dude is so full of shit, his eyes are turning brown. He's making the shit up as he goes. But, like, that's the type of shit that pisses me off, is when motherfuckers are on this, well, I did time, and it's like, yeah, you say that from behind a keyboard. But
yeah. Well, and doing time I think Luxx put it pretty well, but, like, it's nothing. I do talk about it, and I've got some fucking hilarious fucking stories, and I do. But as far as, like, Luxx said it, but prison mentality works good one place, and that's prison. And I never even picked it up in there, but it's fucking. I don't see anything wrong with like for me, it's part of my story, right? And if I can give people a little bit of hope with my story, and let it then I think it's very serious and important to share, because, like, all that crazy shit I pull, my life today is like there's a sale on almond milk tight, that's
right.
that's and you can pull yourself out of that shit if you want to. So I think it's important to not but to get an ego about it, like getting an ego about the fact that you're a dumbass who got locked up while your friends. I have friends that fucking were just as big a knuckleheads as me, like all of you guys, and just weren't as fucking stupid as I was, or weren't as strung out as I was, and didn't go to jail, and.
Or just
So
didn't
see
catch
it.
the L.
I don't think anybody should have an ego about it. I don't think anybody should be ashamed of it either, especially if you can look at guys like Luxx and I and see, like, we're living life okay, we're getting by. Neither of us have warrants.
Nope.
I hope.
Nope, no warrants here.
He's all no comment.
Yeah.
But yeah. Today.
No, I fucking I wanted to close this out on coming back to the shit that sent all of us down what was a beautiful and still dark path, and ask you, most memorable show you've been to.
Oh fuck.
And also, I think maybe, side note, maybe we should reconvene. We should do this again. And we can just tell war stories for fucking an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, all three of us got them.
Fuck yeah, dude.
You know that.
I'm fucking super curious to hear more of yours, Adam, for sure.
No, likewise.
Adam makes me laugh on a daily fucking basis with his bullshit. Anyway, so let's start. Adam, most memorable show, if you got one.
All right, I'm gonna give you two, and I'll keep it short.
I love it.
I'm on a skinhead podcast, The Business, in my hometown, getting broken up halfway through the show. Nazis got run out. We're coming back with guns. End of show. Craziness, violence, The Business. Fucking probably 16 years old, and just a fucking it with all your homies, and just a great fucking night. And obviously, I would have liked to see the whole set, and but just a great night. And then on the punk rock side of things, I got to say the Ramones, just because they're all gone, and I'm that old. I'm not so old that I caught them on the Adios Amigos, and
In
that was
Bakersfield, right? In your
in
town.
Bakersfield. There was a big Bakersfield and Fresno went to war over who was going to have the Ramones, because they were going to do one Central Valley, and usually Bakersfield's on the losing end of everything.
Yeah.
And but we won that time, and we got the Ramones.
I fucking love it.
That was, and that too. Back then, it's not just the bands; it's the memories of that night. You know, it's the girl with the Liberty Spike mohawk that you finger banged, and you know, while her boyfriend was downstairs, and drinking in the parking lot, and then you see the Ramones. You know, like it's that kind of shit.
Fuck yeah.
So those are mine.
Luxx, what do you got for me, Bubba?
Well, you know, I go to a lot of fucking shows. Like, I've always gone to a lot of shows, and I still go to a lot of shows. And like, music, if I was to believe in any religion, like, music would be my religion, because I literally, like, I love most kinds of it. Like, I don't love all kinds of music, but, like, most kinds, there'll be, like, several bands I'm into. And so, like, I see, it's weird, but if we're going to go punk rock and skinhead,
sure.
The best show I ever saw was in 1983. I went to the Olympic Auditorium to see the Exploited and Agnostic Front.
Oh,
and that fucking night, first thing I did when I got there was eat 3 hits of acid, of really good gel acid. Like, off the top, I eat acid. And so I walk in the show, and as I'm walking by the girls' bathroom, I look to the left, and inside the girls' bathroom is more women fighting than I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, the entire bathroom is just these chicks with mohawks and Liberty Spikes just smashing each other. And I'm like, oh shit, tonight's going to be crazy, right? The show happens, but when the show ended, LAPD was there in full force to fight. Like, they weren't there for any other reason, but like, let's get down, right? And so, like, I'm tripping balls, we're running from the cops, throwing shit, and then we run, and a cop gets a hold of my arm, and I stop, and like, my jaws drop, and my homie skinhead Brian takes a full 40-ouncer of Mickey's and fucking smashes dude in the head with it, and just buckles him right there. Let's go, my arm, and buckles. And we fucking ran and got in my fucking car, and I drove around downtown LA for like 2 hours, paranoid out of my fucking mind, because mind you, I'm tripping balls on acid. But like, the energy of that night, and like, just, it was hyper violent, and I never felt unsafe or insecure at any point. Like, I was just in the flow, and it didn't matter what I did. Like, something was smiling on me, and I had an amazing night. And I also got to finger bang a chick with a mohawk. So
right. All right. I'm going to leave it there, because I actually, believe it or not, I have to go and listen. You guys listen to my podcast. I now have to go listen to a fucking Marilyn Manson record for this fucking podcast I'm doing coming up that I haven't done yet, and I'm not happy about it.
Fuck yeah.
But
better than ICP.
I don't know, man. Yeah, probably. I'm pretty sure you're right. We'll see. I do want to say once again, congratulations, Adam, on your fucking job. You're going to be great at this. I can't think of a better human being to do this than you. Totally. This is going to be fucking great. And I probably should have led with this. On a sadder note, I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you condolences on your man, Jordy. I know that just happened.
Thank you, homie.
I see you wearing the shirt. I'm sorry about your man. That's a good boy. That's a satanic punk rocker that was down with all of our shit. That's what
that kid was tight. He was. Thank you. He was. He knew his shit. You know.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's clearly a smart dude, and I just want to extend my condolences, say congratulations as well, and gentlemen, thank you for being my brothers. Thank you for coming in with me on this. Let's do this again. This is too good.
Absolutely.
Anytime, bro. I'm always here.
Tremendous. Love you, motherfuckers. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Love you too, man. Respect.
Cheers.
All right, respect. Love you, boys.